The Russian army carried out one major strike and four group strikes from January 3rd to 9th, striking transport, airfield, port, and energy infrastructure supporting Ukraine's military-industrial complex, as well as temporary deployment sites for Ukrainian armed forces and foreign mercenaries. This occurred in response to the Kiev regime's attack on the Russian presidential residence and civilian infrastructure in our country. The Oreshnik system, which is unprotected by air defense systems, was used in the strike.
And we saw just last week the use of the Oreshnik missile on Lviv and continued attacks on civilian and energy infrastructure.
After Russia's nuclear-capable hypersonic missile test landed dangerously close to NATO territory, the alliance's top leadership issued a strong and urgent response. The incident has sparked renewed debate about Europe's security and the growing intensity of the conflict. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte declared that Russia's Oreshnik strike should be seen as a direct and deliberate message aimed squarely at NATO. His words emphasized that the alliance cannot ignore the strategic implications of such a bold act. Speaking on January 12, Rutte stated that the missile attack was designed to signal NATO to reconsider its ongoing military assistance to Kiev. According to him, Moscow's message was clear: continued Western support for Ukraine would invite greater risk. However, in the very next moment, Rutte made it equally clear that the alliance would not retreat from its position. He reaffirmed NATO's commitment to Ukraine, insisting that the bloc would continue political, financial, and military support despite the threats.
Russia's brutal war of aggression continues, and we saw just last week the use of the Oreshnik missile on Lviv and continued attacks on civilian and energy infrastructure. Russia is trying to deter us from supporting Ukraine, but we will not be deterred. As Ukraine faces immense pressure during the harsh winter, your support and the support of all NATO allies is more important than ever.
On January 8, Russia launched its Oreshnik hypersonic missile against the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. The high-speed strike marked a dramatic escalation in Moscow's use of advanced weaponry in the war. This was only the second confirmed deployment of the Oreshnik system, the first having been recorded in Dnipro in November 2024. The repeated use of this weapon underscores how deeply entrenched and technically advanced Russia's war campaign has become. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that the Oreshnik strike had hit key infrastructure targets in Lviv, devastating areas located just 60 kilometers from the Polish border. The proximity of the blast has raised alarm among NATO member states and regional powers. Meanwhile, at the United Nations Security Council, Russia officially confirmed that it had used the Oreshnik missile in its latest assault on Ukraine. The admission drew sharp international condemnation and renewed calls for accountability.
Mr. Chairman, it seems as if some of the elected members came to the Council with only one priority: to serve as mouthpieces for the war party's agenda and blame Russia for everything, completely ignoring the cause and effect relationships that have led to the profound crisis of European security. They believe they have nothing to do with it. Our arrogant former partners have never noticed, and still do not notice, the beam in their own eye and suffer from political colorblindness, seeing everything in black and white. The Russian army carried out one major strike and four group strikes from January 3rd to 9th, striking transport, airfield, port, and energy infrastructure supporting Ukraine's military-industrial complex, as well as temporary deployment sites for Ukrainian armed forces and foreign mercenaries. This occurred in response to the Kiev regime's attack on the Russian presidential residence and civilian infrastructure in our country. The Oreshnik system, which is unprotected by air defense systems, was used in the strike. Our Western colleagues tell us about civilian casualties, the majority of which, as Ukrainians are well aware, are the result of Ukrainian air defense operations. All these loud but completely unfounded claims about Russia's targeted attacks on Ukrainian families sleeping peacefully in their homes are not supported by any facts or evidence. The Russian armed forces do not target civilians. At the same time, our Western colleagues completely ignore the crimes of the Kiev regime, which is deliberately targeting Russian regions, civilians, and civilian objects.
NATO continues to stand firmly behind Kiev, providing extensive military, financial, and diplomatic support to strengthen its defense. This sustained assistance has been pivotal in keeping Ukraine's resistance operational against the ongoing invasion. Tens of billions of euros in military aid have flowed into Ukraine, enabling its forces to withstand Russia's onslaught for nearly 4 years. These contributions have transformed Ukraine's defensive capabilities and slowed Moscow's advance. In 2024 alone, security assistance worth around 50 billion euros was delivered to Ukraine. This unprecedented financial support highlights Europe's determination to maintain Ukraine's ability to fight. Since the invasion first began in 2022, NATO and its allies have formalized their backing through long-term commitments and defense partnerships. These enduring pledges are designed to strengthen Ukraine's military and political stability for years to come. Structured programs have been established to train Ukrainian forces, modernize their weapon systems, and coordinate strategies directly with NATO experts. Such initiatives represent the West's broader effort to push back against Moscow's aggression. However, since Donald Trump returned to office in Washington, the United States has begun to scale back its direct involvement in aiding Kiev. This strategic shift has placed greater responsibility on European nations to shoulder Ukraine's fight for survival.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.